Good afternoon everybody, how are you all feeling? It is race day tomorrow and I can tell you I am excited. Yes, tomorrow is the start of the Great British Escapades North and South Downs, a 477 kilometre mainly off-road loop around the southeast of England. We kick off at 5 p.m. in the evening and I am genuinely excited, cannot wait for this one. Anyway, in this video I'm going to take you through some of my kit choices, the bike setup, how do you go about setting up a bike for an event like the Great British Escapades. Welcome back to the Turn Cycling YouTube channel. If you're new here and you enjoy the content, do hit that subscribe button. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, then I will be bringing you live race coverage on YouTube. If I don't, I will just be posting it a little bit delayed. Before we get into the bike setup here, and I've got all the kit off to one side, so I'm going to take you through all of the kit, put that into its bags and show you how that all goes together. Before I start with that, I just want to give a quick overview of the race, the conditions we can expect, because that all has an impact on on the decisions you take in terms of what kit to bring for this kind of race. So as I said at the top of the video, it's 477 kilometres round the North and South Downs. It's predominantly off-road on what I would consider kind of old school mountain biking terrain. So there's going to be some steep climbs, lots of flowing tracks through the forest, lots of double track, but also lots of quite technical, rocky single track, especially descending down off some of the big climbs. And at 477 kilometres, it's quite short. It's not a super long race, so that will again have an influence over what I've chosen to take with me. Now, weather-wise, it is going to be near perfect conditions for ultra racing. I'm expecting overnight lows of around 14 degrees and daytime highs of 23 degrees. With a strong easterly breeze to start with, hopefully easing off as we get through the race. So, those temperatures really help when choosing what kit to wear. But before I get into that, let's start with the bike itself. So, mainly off-road, which means it's going to need to have a lot of absorption, whether you go with suspension, whether you go with a gravel bike with fat tyres. Now, I don't own a mountain bike, so that was a relatively easy choice in terms of going with a fully rigid gravel bike. But what I have done with this setup is I've gone for some 650B wheels, and I fitted the Vittoria Mezcal 2.25 inch tyres. Now, I've been testing these out over the last probably 2 weeks, and I have to say these tyres are amazing. If it was much more road or flat, I wouldn't really be going with these, but with the mixed terrain we've got, these things rock. To be honest, they're probably no smaller than the tyres I used to ride when I was mountain biking back in the early 90s. So, and it's very similar terrain to that, so it does make for a very fast bike. With the frame, sadly the Moots won't take tyres this wide, 2.25 inch or 55 millimeters. So I'm actually riding my Fairlights I can for this race. Slightly heavier, but still super comfortable and incredibly well set for this style of race. Now, as well as choosing wheels and tyres specifically for the event, I also had to look very carefully at the gearing. Normally on something like TCR or a Biking Man event, I would go for a 40 tooth or a 38 tooth front chainring. With this one, a lot of off-road climbing, some very, very steep climbs. At times there will be some pushing. Also, we're not going to have very long road sections where you want to be turning a really high gear. So this has meant I've gone for something much closer to traditional mountain bike gearing. So I've changed the front chainring here. We've gone to a 32 tooth on the 1x setup. Combine that at the back with an 11 to 42 cassette. This is going to give me super low gearing, which hopefully will allow me to keep riding where a lot of riders may be stopping and getting off and walking. Now, the speed differences are not going to be huge, but even going 6 or 7k an hour versus 3k an hour walking can halve your time to get up a hill. So I really think I've gotten the right decision on the gearing here, and all of the test rides I've done over the last couple of days have really shown me that I'm pretty spot on with that. I think it's going to be pretty amazing. Now on to lighting. As I said, this is a short race. 477k is not very long. Starting at 5 o'clock in the evening, it really tempts a lot of people into wanting to ride straight through the first night. However, what's going to be key is being able to ride fast through the night. It's off-road, especially that north down section, which I think is going to be probably the more technical. So what I don't want to do is be limited by my ability. I'd rather be limited by my legs. Now, that is going to be hard when you're rattling down a very narrow, twisty single track and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You are going to slow down and go a little bit more carefully. But I've put a lot of thought into my lighting setup, which needs to allow me to stay visible through 2 full nights. So I need to allow for 24 hours of light or 22 hours of light, but also be able to flip on a very high output for the fast technical descents. So what we've done here is we've gone for, let me see if I can turn that round. Hopefully you can now see that. So I've actually gone for a twin light setup on this. 2 Diablos, exposure Diablos, which are my go-to light. The one on the bottom, which is the new Sync Mark 12, or I think they call it the Sync Mark 1 now. That's going to be set up to run continuously for 24 hours. So I'll turn that on at about 7 o'clock on the first night, leave that running all the way through on a 12-hour setting, then that's backed up with the extra battery cell to give it 24 hours. Then on the top I've got the older exposure Diablo, and I've got that set to a fairly high power output that will last about 6 hours, but what I'll do is I'll turn that on and off as required. So as I hit a fast technical downhill, turn that on, give me the light and the visibility further ahead on the track to allow me to then descend at speed. I've got my trusty bell. This is actually going to be really, really useful, especially during that second day on the South Downs Way. South Downs Way is a very busy track. There's going to be a lot of people out there, even though it's a Friday, and just giving them a little tinkle on the bell helps them realise somebody's coming, and it just keeps everybody a lot happier with each other. So yeah, leaving that on, it's quite important. Navigation, the Garmin 1030, which has been my navigation device for about 1.5 years now. As I had in Rwanda and Oman, I've got the extra battery cell underneath. Again, on a short race like this, the advantage here is I don't need to worry about charging that. That will last for 48 hours and give me all the navigation I need. So that is all sorted. Lights won't need to be charged. Garmin and battery won't need to be recharged, so I'm all set. I don't have to worry about charging things up, which takes some of the mental stress away. It takes some of the mental cycles away, trying to think about when do I put things onto charge, when do I not put things onto charge. In terms of bags up front, I've got the Apparel feed bags. You basically live out of these whenever you're doing an ultra race. They will be stuffed with food at the start line. I'll talk a little bit about food in a bit. And then the Appadura top tube bag. I've gone for the large one. That's going to be holding power banks, charging cables, suntan cream and hand sanitizer and a face mask. 2 of the mandatory bits of kit, given current situation, is hand sanitizer and a face mask. So I want to make those accessible, so as soon as I go into a shop, boom, in and on, and in I go. And then finally on lights, at the front I've got a spare strip light here. This is just in case of emergencies really. If I have any issues on this, I can at least put this on and I can ride legally and safely, and it will get me out of trouble. If we move to the back, we've done a little bit of Heath Robinson bodge job today, hacked apart. I think this is I don't know what make this is. There's a German brand of light. You can pick these up. They're like £5 off of Amazon. A little bit of heating of a chisel, melted away a little bit, drilled out a hole, and I've been able to fasten that securely to the rear, I think that's the rear pannier rack mount. So that's nice and stable, that's not going to go anywhere, and the best thing about that is 2 things actually. It's got a built-in reflector, so that keeps you legal within the Geneva Convention for bikes in Europe or in any country that subscribes to the Geneva Convention for road traffic. But also it runs off AAA batteries. So this has got 2 AAA batteries in, which means I can start that at the beginning of the race, and that will probably last me about 70 to 80 hours. So again, I don't need to worry about that. I turn it on and I forget about it, and then I'm always at least visible to a certain degree from the rear. That's then backed up by another Lazine strip light. What I'll do is I'll run that during the night in flashing mode, just makes me that little bit extra visible, both to cars when I'm on the road, but also if I've got another rider coming up fast behind me, then they'll see me sooner rather than later. Right, that's everything on the bike. Now let's get to the kit I'm going to be taking with me, and we'll start by looking at the clothing. Now, because it's going to be warm, that means I don't need to take too much in the way of cold weather kit, which means leaving thermals behind. I've decided not to take an insulated gilet. They all add not so much weight, but space. Because it's off-road, I'm going to be bouncing around a lot. I wanted to keep the tail pack quite compact. If this was a normal race, I'd just throw my tail fin on there and I'd have lots of space to put in whatever I wanted. But with this one, I wanted to keep it much more compact. So I'm going with the Apidura 5 litre race pack, and everything needs to fit into that. So it's going to be warm, doesn't matter. So leaving the insulated gilet behind. So let's go through what I'm going to be wearing first of all on the bike all the time. First up, shorts, brand new box fresh set of Mectrax bibs. These are the ones that I've worked with the guys at Mectrax to develop. They have the reflective panel on the back, which again is very useful for being visible at night under lights of cars. Socks, specialised ones with reflective bits on, although they're not actually very reflective, so could do a better job. They're specialised, but they are orange, so you are pretty visible. And it's a biomarker, so it's something on your body that moves, so it's always good to have kind of nice visible colours on things that move. Jersey, again, the turn cycling specific kit, which has got the reflective panels on the back. Again, super useful. It's just nice being visible. You really notice when you've got all these reflective panels on that cars spot you a further way off. And it's got some side pockets as well, which are great for putting rubbish in and not putting sticky sweet wrappers or chocolate wrappers in to get everything else sticky. So that's the jersey. I do often wear a mesh vest as well. I find it helps when it's hot, sweaty. Keep that kind of wicks the sweat away, keeps you a little bit cooler, which is nice. And at night it does provide just a little bit of extra thermal warmth, so that's good. Gloves. I don't really tend to wear gloves, only at night, so I've gone with some Castelli windproof ones and kind of slightly thermal. These are just great when the temperature's anywhere between kind of 5 and 15 degrees overnight. You do feel the cold a little bit more at night, so yeah, they will probably actually start with those on. And then again, just to stay warm during the night, when even though it might be 14 degrees, you do feel it. You just chill after the day because you've been working so hard. So I'll be taking some Castelli arms and legs. I've used these for like 8 years. They are the best arm and leg warmers. Castelli Nanoflex. They keep you warm. They keep the rain off. They're excellent. So I'll probably start with the arm warmers on because we're starting at 5 o'clock at night. Leg warmers. Probably not going to need those. I could probably get away with leaving those behind, but just in case, I'll stick those in because I can fit them in. Safety gilet and windproof gilet to keep the wind off. Again, especially useful at night. Just stops you getting that little bit of chill, especially when the dew starts to settle. And best of all, this is the turn cycling one, which, as you can see, is bright yellow, and what you can't see is all of that is covered in little dots, and they're all reflective. So that's super visible, great bit of kit. And then finally on the clothing front, my ever trusty Gore Shake Dry Gore-Tex jacket, which packs away as small as any thin windproof and is just an excellent bit of kit. Packs up so small. Yeah, that's always going in my bag no matter which race I'm doing. We're not going to get any rain, I don't think, but it'll keep me warm if it gets cold, especially if I have to do an emergency bivvy. So yeah, that's definitely going in. Right, let's get on to electrics. How am I going to keep all of this stuff charged? Well, as I said, I don't really need to charge that. It's more around keeping the phone charged. and also just having a backup just in case. Now, normally you wouldn't use the phone too much, except for two reasons. One, I'm going to be doing lots of videos for you guys and girls, so you can get some insight into the race as we're happening. I'm going to record and then post to YouTube as we go. But also, for this race, the tracker is done through your phone. I don't yet know exactly how much juice that's going to chew up. It's going to be sending your position back over the data network probably every 5 or 10 minutes. It's going to be tracking you all the time, so it's going to be putting a call into the GPS chip. So yeah, don't know how much juice that's going to take up. So to be on the safe side, I've gone for two 10,000 mAh battery packs. This is more of a test more than anything else. I probably only need one of those, but I've got one extra just in case. So they're going in. And then the extra cell for the exposure light. Again, I could use the other batteries, but this way I plug it in, I forget about it, and it keeps me going. I used this in Portugal on Biking Man, and I lasted the whole race without needing to recharge my lights, which again just takes worry and stress away, which is a good thing. Two cables, only need two cables on this one, one for my iPhone and then one for the exposure lights just in case. So that's done, wrapped up so they don't get tangled everywhere. Face mask, hand gel, they're just going to sit in there along with most of that stuff there. Suntan cream, always put suntan cream on even if it's not going to be that sunny. You don't want to get skin cancer when you're older. I will be putting some on before I start, and I'll be reapplying regularly. Otherwise I'll get into trouble with the missus. And then, because we're off-road, you never know whether you might crash. I've just brought a very small, let me show you this, it's a very small disc truing device. It weighs about 10 grams and it cost me £2 off Amazon. That is just a neat little bit of kit to throw in. Again, just in case. So we'll pop that in there out of the way. Helmet. Always buy a helmet that fits your head. And that may seem daft, but I've had helmets where it wasn't the right shape for my head and it just hurts. So I know that Specialized really fit me well. So I'm running the latest S-Works Prevail. Super light, super comfortable. Can't complain about that. I'll probably wear a cap underneath it. Keeps me warm at night, and then during the day if it's too hot and sunny, a little bit of water on top of it and that will cool you down. Right, now let's talk tools and spares. I've already been through those, don't need those. That's because I ran out of battery and it's technically half an hour later. Right, so spare tubes, Tubolitos. I've used Tubolitos for about a year and a half now. I know people have had bad experiences with them, but they've worked for me. They've worked when I've had to use them on TCR, and they're always ever going to be an emergency backup in case the tubeless doesn't work. And to be honest, on big tyres like that, big volume tyres, I'm not expecting anything crazy to happen. So yeah, so these are a bit of an emergency backup. Tubolitos, they're light, but best of all, they take up no space. I actually weighed them. Compared to carrying two normal inner tubes, this saves me 1/4 kilogram, which is not to be sniffed at. Pump, of course, the Silka Tatico Bluetooth pump, best hand pump in the world ever. Go check out the video that I did on this, it's really awesome, connects to my phone, tells me the pressure, pumps tyres up to really good pressures. I've had 60 psi in like 32mm tyres with this, so this should deal with everything, and it means I'm not going to bother taking gas canisters, because I actually think I might be able to seat these tubeless tyres with this because they go on really, really easily, but you know, it won't come to that. But yeah, so there's the pump. Then in the tool bag, I'm using these little Lazine caddy sacks. You might have seen those on my Rwanda video. Quite cool. Just stop me losing everything inside my bags. Let's see what we've got in here, shall we? Tyre boot. We are off-road, so there's more chance of putting a tear in the sidewall. So I've got like 3 tyre boots there. If you don't have tyre boots and this happens to you, then use a note, a banknote. I think I've said this in videos before, but especially the new British notes, they're really, really good because they've got a very high plastic content. They don't stretch, they don't really tear. Fold one over a couple of times, stick it inside your tyre, then put the inner tube in, and you've got an instant tyre boot. But I'm not expecting to carry any banknotes because these days everybody takes contactless, so I'll just be taking my phone. Special Tubolito fixed kit, make sure you take the proper patches for the Tubolitos. Don't try using normal butyl ones because they won't work. Okay, that's the bag. These are just wrapped in a little bit of lycra, neoprene, just to stop them rattling. Okay, again, not really taking much in the way of tools. Chain pliers with a spare link on, really useful. Never actually had to use those on a race, but they, you never know, and that weighs nothing, so good to have those with you. A couple of spare batteries for the rear light, just in case. A tool, just in case anything falls apart. I've got enough that I can repair the chain. If I break a link, I've got a link breaker there, so I can take a link out and then use this to put it back together again. And just in case anything else comes loose, most likely thing is going to be the headset. When you're rattling off-road, your headset can sometimes come a little loose and need a little bit of a tweak to tighten it up. So there's that. One tyre lever, don't need more than that with these tyres, these are easy to get on and off. And then, put this down, the Dyna plug. Can you see that? Boom. Dyna plug. The lifesaver of tubeless tyres. Stick that in the plug, in the hole, and it magically seals. These things are just amazing. It's like a miracle. You shove it in, you pull the thing out, a little tail sticks out, you trim it off, and hey ho, your tyre is fixed. So there's that as well. That is it on the tool front. Only two more things to go through really, and then a quick conversation about food. No, three more things to go. Everything will be packed in the Apidura 5 litre race pack, don't need more than that. And then just in case, the Sol super small bivy bag, which does lead me on to a little bit of a comment about sleep systems. You'll notice that that's the only thing I've mentioned that comes close to a sleep system. Now, again, it's a short race, it's going to be warm. I'm not entirely sure how long it's going to take. Could be 28 hours, could be 36 hours. I think in either scenario, I'm probably not going to sleep. Or if I am going to sleep, it's going to be an hour hiding in a bush somewhere. So I don't want to carry a big heavy sleep system. Normally it's not a problem, but when you're going to have to manhandle your bike through gates, over gates, push your bike uphill, I do think that an extra kilo or two of sleep system will make a difference. So I am going super light. You may find me shivering in a hedge somewhere on the South Downs on the second night, and if you do, maybe just come and give me a little cuddle to warm me up. So yeah, so that's all I'm taking as a sleep system. But hey, it should be warm enough. 14 degrees. Put my gilet on, put my waterproof on, get into that, and I'll be fine. Yeah, so that's all going to go in there. And then the final bit to cover off is these will be going in. You probably can't see that because of the lighting in here. It is caffeine chewing gum. I don't take too much of this, but starting at night, each of these packs has 4 pieces in it. So I'll probably, 4 pieces for the first night and day, and then maybe 2 or 3 for the second night. Always useful to have just in case. Food is one of the challenges on this course. You can carry enough for the whole ride. Look at what the guys did on GBE Duro. They've shown that it is possible to do that. But unless you were forced to, it wouldn't really be the best way of doing it. But finding places to resupply has been challenging. Now, I'm not going to tell you where they are because I'm sure my competitors are watching this video with interest, and I'm not going to give away my competitive advantage. Needless to say, I have identified a few 24-hour garages. So I'm going to be starting with enough food for, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours. I'll have some sandwiches, I'll have some sweets, I'll have some chocolate bars, probably some peanut M&Ms. And then when I get to a service station or petrol station, I'm going to get enough to take me through another 8 to 10 hours. So hopefully 2 or 3 stops, maybe the occasional stop for ice cream as I'm going across the South Downs Way, and that should see me through to the end. Right, all that's left is for me to pack this away. So see you in a minute. There we go, done, ready to rock and roll at the race start tomorrow. Now, I know the one question you're all dying for me to answer is, how much does it weigh? Well, I had it onto the scales earlier on today, and I can tell you it is 13.2 kilograms all up weight, which I am really pleased with that. So that doesn't include food and water, but considering the size and weight of the tyres that I've got on there, this is a pretty light setup. You know, compare it to people who are going to be on bikes with suspension forks and heavier frames. I think they're going to be giving away at least 2 kilos of weight to what I'm carrying. So I think what I've got here is I've got a light, fast setup, just about enough tyre volume to get me comfortably through the race without my arms falling apart. So yeah, this is gonna rock. Right, I hope you've enjoyed it. I will leave the tracking details for the race in the comments below. Any thoughts, views, observations on what I'm taking? Do you think I've missed anything? Comment below and let me know. Right, I will see you out on the race course. Cheers everybody, bye.